Hello, baseball fans, and welcome back to the channel. Today feels different, and if you've been following the Toronto Blue Jays closely, you can probably feel it too. There's something in the air right now, something that goes beyond just another spring training game. This is that stage of the year where things start to shift. What used to feel like preparation now starts to feel like reality. The regular season is right around the corner, and suddenly every pitch, every at-bat, every decision starts to matter just a little bit more. And today, we've got a lot to talk about. Not just a single game, not just a couple of players, but a full picture of what's happening with the Toronto Blue Jays right now. From their matchup against the Philadelphia Phillies in Clearwater, to the rise of key prospects, to veteran performances, injuries, roster decisions, and even the long-term future of this team. Everything is starting to come together at once. Now, let's start with today's game, because this is where a lot of the excitement is coming from. The Phillies are taking on the Blue Jays in Clearwater at a ballpark that I was actually at yesterday. And being there in person gives you a completely different perspective. You start to notice the little things, the way players warm up, the way coaches interact with them, the way certain guys carry themselves. You can see who looks confident, who's locked in, who's still trying to find their rhythm. And today, there's going to be a very big showcase for Blue Jays fans because this game is about more than just the score. It's about the future. It's about getting a look at the next wave of talent that could shape this team for years to come. Two names stand out immediately: Arjun Nimala and JoJo Parker. These aren't just prospects getting a chance to play. These are two of the most important young players in the organization right now. Ranked number 2 and number 3 in the system, only behind Trey Savage. Both of them are expected to be part of today's game. And even though we don't have the official starting lineup yet, the fact that they're on the roster tells you everything you need to know. The organization wants to see them in this moment. Let's talk about Arjun Nimala first, because there's a lot to like about what he brings. When you watch him pitch, the first thing that stands out is how smooth everything looks. His delivery is clean, controlled, and repeatable. That's something that's incredibly important for a young pitcher, because it allows him to stay consistent over time. His fastball sits comfortably in the mid-90s, but it's not just about speed. It's about movement. The ball has life, it moves late, and hitters have a hard time making solid contact. Then you look at his slider, and that's where things get even more interesting. It's sharp, it breaks late, and it's already becoming one of his go-to pitches. He also mixes in a curveball and a changeup, and while those are still developing, they're good enough to keep hitters guessing. But what really separates him is his composure. He doesn't look rushed. He doesn't look overwhelmed. He works through counts, he makes adjustments, and he stays calm even when things don't go perfectly. Over his recent run in the minors, striking out over 120 batters in roughly 80 innings, he's shown that he can control games. And that's a big deal, because controlling games is what turns a prospect into a future major league pitcher. Now, shifting to JoJo Parker, you get a completely different type of player, but one that's just as important. Parker is all about consistency. He's smart at the plate, he understands situations, and he knows how to approach each at-bat. He's not just swinging for power. He's reading the pitcher, adjusting his approach, and using the entire field. He can hit to the opposite side, he can pull the ball when needed, and most importantly, he makes consistent contact. That's something that doesn't always get attention, but it wins games over time. Players like Parker are the ones who keep innings alive, who move runners, who create pressure on defenses. And over a long season, those are the players that make a difference. But it's not just about those two. There are other players in this game who are making noise, and one of them is Josh Casevic. If you've been following spring training, you've probably noticed how often his name comes up. He's been one of the most consistent hitters in camp. Every time he steps up to the plate, there's a sense that something is going to happen. He makes contact, he finds gaps, he drives and runs. He had a key RBI in yesterday's game, and it wasn't just the hit, it was the timing. He delivered when the team needed it. Fans have started calling him the half-robot, and honestly, it fits. There's a precision to his swing, a repeatability that makes him incredibly reliable. And if he keeps performing like this, he's going to force the Blue Jays to take a serious look at him. Then there's Juan Sanchez, just 18 years old, and already showing signs of something special. It's rare to see someone that young look so comfortable at the plate. His bat speed is impressive, but it's his awareness that really stands out. He recognizes pitches early, he adjusts, and he doesn't look overwhelmed. Now, he's still a long way from the majors, and there's no need to rush him. But games like today are important because they give fans a glimpse of what he could become. On the pitching side, we're likely going to see Gage Stanifer get some innings, and possibly Jamon Coleman as well. Both have had solid showings this spring, and this is another opportunity for them to prove themselves. Now, let's shift to yesterday's game, because there were some important takeaways there as well. Max Scherzer was outstanding. 5 innings, 2 hits, a couple of walks, 3 strikeouts. But more than the numbers, it was the way he pitched. The movement, the control, the confidence, everything looked sharp. Hitters weren't comfortable. They weren't seeing the ball well. And that's exactly what you want to see from a veteran at this stage. You don't need perfection in spring training, you need readiness. And Scherzer looked ready. Offensively, the game wasn't explosive, but it was effective. Tyler Heineman grounded into a double play that brought in a run. Jessica Savage had a big hit. Tyler Hyman drove in another run. Jesus Sanchez crossed the plate. Nathan Lukes had a solid day. Davis Schneider picked up multiple hits, and once again, Josh Kasvik continued to stand out. But as we move closer to the regular season, not everything is going perfectly. Trey Savage is going to start the season on the injured list with a shoulder impingement. And that's a tough blow, because this is a player that many believe could be the American League Rookie of the Year. The good news is that he's been seen around camp, moving well, staying positive, and not showing signs of serious discomfort. But there's still no exact timetable for his return, and that uncertainty is something the team will have to manage. At the same time, roster decisions are being made. Brandon Valenzuela has been optioned to AAA with the Buffalo Bisons. Other players like Robert Brooks, Rafael Tigua, Riley Terada, Carlos Mendoza, and Josh Rivera have been sent down to minor league camp. This is normal for this time of year. Teams are figuring out where players fit best, where they can develop, and how everything is going to come together. Then we had the split squad game against the Yankees, and this one was a completely different story. The offense came alive. Dalton Varsho hit an opposite field home run, his 5th of spring training, and that's not something you can ignore. Power to the opposite field is a sign of real strength and solid mechanics. The Blue Jays kept building from there. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had a clean single. Addison Barger followed with a hard-hit ball up the middle. And then George Springer stepped up and hit a grand slam. A towering home run that made a statement. Andres Jimenez added another home run later in the game, scoring R.J. Schreck, and Dalton Varsho came through again with another RBI off the wall. On the pitching side, Cody Ponce delivered a strong performance, going 5 2/3 innings and allowing just 1 hit while striking out 5. Ariel Rodriguez is still working through some inconsistencies, but the strikeout ability is there. Jeff Hoffman and Al Alcala close things out cleanly. And when you step back and look at everything, you start to see the bigger picture forming. The veterans are getting ready. The prospects are pushing. The roster is taking shape. And the season is coming. There are more games ahead, more opportunities, more decisions to be made. There's a split squad matchup coming up that could feature Team Springer versus Team Vlad Jr. And those are always exciting because they bring out a competitive edge even within the team. And beyond the field, the organization is also looking at its identity. With the 50th anniversary, the decision to honor Buck Martinez and build a proper Hall of Excellence experience at Rogers Center is a step toward embracing the team's history. Because baseball is not just about what's happening today. It's about everything that led to this moment and everything that's still to come. And right now, the Blue Jays are in that space where the past, present, and future are all coming together. So as we move closer to the regular season, keep watching these games, keep paying attention to these players, and enjoy the process. And the closer we get to opening day, the more you start to notice how every little detail matters. It's no longer just about getting through innings or seeing a few at-bats. Now it's about rhythm, timing, confidence, and most importantly, clarity. Players are trying to lock in their roles, coaches are finalizing decisions, and the organization as a whole is starting to move with a clear direction. And one of the biggest parts of that direction is the veteran core of this team. Because while the prospects are exciting and full of potential, it's the experienced players who are going to carry the load when the season actually begins. When you look at the pitching staff, it starts with Max Scherzer, and what he showed in that last outing wasn't just encouraging, it was reassuring. This is a player who has seen everything the game can throw at him, and yet he still finds ways to adapt, to evolve, and to stay effective. The movement on his pitches, the way he was locating his fastball, the confidence in his secondary pitches, all of it pointed to a pitcher who is not just preparing, but one who is ready to compete at a high level right now. And what makes that even more important is the influence he has on the younger pitchers around him. Guys like Arjuna Mala, Gage Stanifer, and even others in the system are watching closely. They're seeing how he approaches a game, how he studies hitters, how he manages situations, and those are lessons that go far beyond mechanics. That's the kind of impact that doesn't show up in a box score, but it shapes a team over time. Then you look at the rest of the rotation, and you start to see how everything fits together. There's a balance between experience and emerging talent, between consistency and upside. And that balance is going to be critical, especially in a division where every game feels like it matters just a little bit more. Offensively, the story is just as interesting because this is where you really start to see the identity of the team take shape. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. continues to be one of the most important pieces in this lineup, and every time he steps up to the plate, there's an expectation, not just from fans, but from the team itself. His ability to hit for power, to make consistent contact, and to adjust mid-at-bat makes him one of the most dangerous hitters in the game. But what stands out even more is his presence. When he's locked in, the entire lineup feels more confident. There's a sense that something big can happen at any moment. George Springer brings a different kind of energy, but one that's just as important. His experience, his leadership, and his ability to come through in big moments make him a key part of this team. That grand slam in the split squad game wasn't just a highlight. It was a reminder. A reminder of what he brings, of how he can change a game with one swing, and of why he's such a valuable presence in the lineup. And then you have players like Bo Bichette, who bring consistency and intensity. His approach at the plate, his ability to drive the ball, and his willingness to compete in every situation make him another cornerstone of this offense. He's the kind of player who doesn't take plays off, who stays aggressive, and who keeps the pressure on opposing teams. What's interesting, though, is how all of this connects back to the younger players. Because as these veterans perform and establish themselves, they're also setting a standard. They're showing what it takes to succeed at this level. And for players like JoJo Parker, Josh Kasvik, and Juan Sanchez, that's incredibly valuable. They're not just learning how to play the game. They're learning how to prepare, how to handle failure, how to stay consistent over time. And those lessons are going to matter just as much as anything they do on the field. As we continue to move through spring training, you also start to see how strategy begins to take shape. Managers experiment with lineups, they test different combinations, they look at matchups, and they try to figure out what works best. It's not always about winning these games, it's about learning from them. You might see a player batting in a different position than usual, or a pitcher working on a specific sequence of pitches. These are all small adjustments, but they add up. They help define roles. They create flexibility, and they prepare the team for the situations they're going to face during the season. And in a division like the American League East, that preparation is absolutely essential. Every team is competitive. Every series is a challenge, and there's very little margin for error. You're going to face strong lineups, deep rotations, and teams that know how to capitalize on mistakes. That's why depth matters so much. That's why the performances we're seeing from players like Dalton Varsho, Cody Ponce, and even some of the bullpen arms are so important. Because over the course of a long season, you're going to need more than just your starting lineup. You're going to need contributions from all over the roster. And that brings us back to the idea of opportunity. Because for a lot of these players, this is their chance. This is their moment to show what they can do, to prove that they belong, and to make it difficult for the organization to leave them off the roster. Josh Kasvik is a perfect example of that. Every game, every at-bat, he's making a case for himself. He's not just participating, he's producing. And when a player starts to do that consistently, it forces a conversation. Juan Sanchez, even at his age, is starting to generate that kind of attention as well. Not because he's expected to make the team right now, but because of what he represents. He represents the future. He represents the next wave of talent that could eventually take this team to another level. And then there's Trey Savage, whose situation adds another layer to all of this. His injury is unfortunate. There's no way around it. But at the same time, it creates opportunities for others. It opens the door for players to step in, to take on bigger roles, and to show what they're capable of. That's one of the realities of baseball. Injuries happen. Things don't always go according to plan. And when that happens, it's the depth of your team that determines how well you can adapt. The Blue Jays are in a position where they have that depth. They have players who can step in, who can contribute, and who can keep things moving in the right direction. And as all of this unfolds, you can't ignore the bigger picture. This isn't just about spring training. This is about building something that can last over the course of an entire season. It's about creating a team that can compete consistently, that can handle adversity, and that can perform when it matters most. There's also something to be said about the atmosphere around the team right now. The energy, the excitement, the sense of anticipation, it's all building. Fans are starting to engage more, conversations are becoming more focused, and there's a growing belief that this could be a special season. Part of that comes from what we've seen on the field, but part of it also comes from what's happening off the field. The decision to honor the team's history, to introduce a Hall of Excellence experience, and to celebrate the legacy of the organization is a reminder of what this franchise represents. Because baseball is a game that connects generations. It's about remembering the past while looking forward to the future. And right now, the Blue Jays are in a position where both of those things are coming together. You've got veterans who understand what it takes to win, prospects who are hungry to prove themselves, and an organization that's trying to bring it all together. And as we move closer to the start of the season, that's what makes this time so exciting. It's the uncertainty, the possibility, the sense that anything can happen. Every game, every inning, every play, it all adds up. It all contributes to the story that's about to unfold. And if what we've seen so far is any indication, this is going to be a season worth paying attention to. So keep watching, keep following, and enjoy every moment of it. Because this is where it starts. This is where the foundation is built. And as always, let's go Blue Jays.